So this past weekend, I had my family reunion. This is my personal family. My mom and dad were here. My two sisters, all the cousins. So my nieces and nephews. There were 13 of us in total at my house for 3 days, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I didn't know how it was going to go because in the past, my two sisters would probably fight with each other, or actually, one of my brother in laws would fight with my mom. And I didn't really know how it was going to go, but it was so great to see, just be able to see my parents, my mom's alive, and to just appreciate that my mom is here with all the scariness that happened with her stage 3 cancer over the last year. And just to really appreciate that, hey, here are my parents. Like, they're here and they get to see their 3 kids who are married and who have kids, and get to see my sisters and not fight with them, and have 5 cousins running around yelling, playing, melting down there. There was this one moment where all 5 cousins, we went out to a school by our house, and there was a moment where all 5 cousins were melting down and crying in a parking lot. And it was just, it was amazing just to see the beauty and the love, and just, I loved it so much. And my wife really made this all happen. Burgess was the one that actually suggested we have a family reunion, and she did it. I forgot during one of the stages that my mom was in getting rid of her cancer, but she said, you should really have a family reunion. And we had never had one before with everyone, with all the cousins, with all the in-laws and siblings, and it was fabulous. So that ends the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks of family time, because I had my family reunion, and then the week before that, Burge and I and our 2 kids, we went to the UCLA family camp, and then the weekend before that, Burgess had her immediate family over for the weekend. So it's been pretty crazy, and that puts my thoughts and ideas on more of a global kind of point of view than just what specifically is happening in what stock or what sector or what's happening at this moment. And my thought of the week for this market situation report is, there's really nothing to talk about except what people do not want to talk about. And what I mean by that is, this is my little hierarchy. I just put this triangle together right before this conversation, but this is my experience that most people spend their lives thinking they need better information for investing, right? They need more information. They need better information. And the interesting thing about this is most information is completely free on the internet today. And it's been getting freer and freer, and it will continue to get freer and freer. And, if you were to look at people's accounts maybe over the last 10 years, doesn't seem like that free information has really helped. So then what people do next is they say, well, I need someone to analyze the information. And they go to those maybe stock investment newsletters, or they go to weekend workshops, or maybe they go to the big box financial advisors, but they're looking for someone to analyze it. And, that's slightly higher on the scale of what's important. But, for most people, then you just end up with a couple hundred stock picks, and you don't really know what to do because your brain gets overwhelmed. But really, kind of the secret, and that word secret is really overused, is how do you personalize and implement it in your own life? Like, really, how do you personalize and implement it in your life? And the reason I bring this up is because most people, I think, are looking at the investment world like, just get better information. If I just had better information and spent an hour a night, then that would work. And then maybe they do graduate to the, no, I just need to analyze the information. And what I've noticed is the real change, the real power is created when you implement it on a personal level so it works for you. And I bring this up because my most recent Millionaires Academy, this is where I do group coaching with a small group of people. And I was talking with one of the students, one of the participants, and since the day, and the academy is over and a new academy will be starting soon enough, but since the day he started the academy, which wasn't that long ago, his entire net worth is up 25%. And this is not someone who started with a net worth of $10,000. Now, this person had their money invested in the strategies that I talk about and show and teach in the Fearless Wealth Club. And so you know that he had some of his money in precious metals, and yet his net worth still went up. Total net worth, not just one stock or one account in a huge portfolio, but his entire net worth went up. And one of the reasons is because he got, I don't want to say he got real. That sounds too Tony Robbins or something like that. But he got into a conversation with someone, me, in the group, to say, how do I personalize and implement these systems into my life? And it's not just about keeping growing money. It's about how he earns, and his earnings did not go up, but ways that he shifted his behavior. And so the thought that no one wants to, or my thought of the week is that I find that most people want to talk about this middle area. They want to talk about this middle area right here, like analyze information. And you know what? Gold is bottoming. Precious metal mining stocks are bottoming. The stock market is in kind of a sidewaysness top movement, waiting for that September 15th, 16th Federal Open Market Committee decision. It looks like bonds and all interest rate sensitive information is adjusting and possibly bottoming and waiting for that September 15th call from Bernanke. That will be his last one until he is out of a job in January, at least with the Fed. And you know, most people spend their lives in this analyze information because it's fun, it's exciting. And look, I'm a total student of the stock market, and I love this stuff, and I totally geek out on it. But that's not That's not where the real difference is made. It's really made. Hold on, I'm going backwards. It's really made when you implement it and personalize it for your life. That's where the big changes are made. And yet I find that most people actually don't want to talk about that. I had this one-on-one strategy session with a woman in her 60s, lives in Canada, and she was just really stressed out. She had all these positions, and we were looking at what she needed for her life, for her wants, for her needs. And you know what the solution was? It was putting 80% of her money in 5-year Canadian treasuries, putting 10% of her money in gold and silver, and putting the other 10% in a strategy that I call market probability. And for what she wants and what she needs and what works for her life, that's what works. And that's a very straightforward, simple approach, especially from what she had before. The point is that I've never said put 80% of your money in 5-year Canadian treasuries, but that's what worked for her. It was a personalized kind of implementation for her that worked for her life. And so what I request of you, what I have you look at is, are you spending your life analyzing and thinking the analysis of information is what's going to do it? Or is it the just get better information? Or are you kind of living and saying, you know what, it's got to be something more strategic. It's got to be something more personal. It has to be more on an implementation level. And that's where you should be spending. That's where what I find people who truly get ahead, who grow their net worth, they spend it in that small part. And this is still a triangle, and it may be a small screen that you're on, but at the very top, there's still that little blue triangle, and this is the middle section right here, and this is the bottom section. And this is my experience of what people think is important and where they spend most of their life with investing and growing and protecting, and almost none of it up here. Maybe they accidentally get up there, but that's where the magic happens. That's where real changes happen. How much time do you spend up there? What is your strategy? How have you implemented? Have you personalized your approach? And I'll say, if you have more than 2 mutual funds, if you have more than 20 ticker symbols, you've complicated your life. You've complicated your investment strategy. And we want to do just the opposite. We want to we want to delete complexity and complication to really get our life back, to get rid of that burden of having to work for others and having to spend hours in front of a screen. but to know that your money is protecting and growing. So no stock picks. Well, actually, almost never give stock picks, but no really any more analysis, and just kind of really reflect and think about where you spend your time. Which segment of that triangle do you spend your time? Because the top part of it is where change really happens, where net worth can grow 25% over 6 months, even if a majority of your money is in precious metals. That's the difference. It's the implementation. It's how you behave. I'm so glad you guys are here. I have my August strategy gathering coming up this coming Tuesday. I guessed on the date and I didn't check the date before I started this recording. So it is this Tuesday, which is the second Tuesday of the month. And we are going to look at those sectors. We are going to look at those assets that I think that the market is saying will thrive in a higher interest rate economy. This is in addition to what we talked about in July, but also to continue talking about that strategic implementation, that personalized implementation, so you don't have to spend as much time staring in front of computer screens if you don't want to. Which the woman said, who I spoke to a few weeks ago in Canada in her 60s, she goes, I don't actually want to do this, but I feel like I have to. So anyone who's ever had that experience, like, I guess this is what I have to do, the answer is no, you don't. There is a less complicated way for you to implement the way to protect and grow your money so you can kind of get your life back. We'll talk about that too in August strategy gathering. I'll stream it live, of course. It is Tuesday, August 12th. I think that's the date, August 12th. You guys have a great weekend. Hug and kiss your kids. And if you don't have kids, you probably have animals, dogs or cats. And if you don't, you probably have a spouse or a partner. So you guys have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you next week. All right, speak to you then.